The morning shift aboard the Valdorian research vessel, Dominion began like any other. Admiral Zexathara sipped his morning nutrition fluid while reviewing the daily reports from the Outer Rim surveys. His species had ruled the galaxy for over 2,000 years, and every day brought news of new worlds to add to their empire. The reptilian commander barely looked up when his communications officer announced another transmission from an unknown system. "Another primitive species seeking our attention, Admiral," the young officer said with barely concealed boredom. "They call themselves humans from a planet called Earth." Zexathara's golden eyes rolled with annoyance. "Let me guess. They discovered radio waves and think they own the galaxy now." He had dealt with hundreds of such species over his long career. They all followed the same pattern. First came the excited radio signals, then fear when they realized they were not alone, and finally, submission when the Empire's ships arrived. The communication officer nodded. "The signal is coming from the third planet of a yellow star system. Very ordinary location, nothing special about it at all." "Put it through," Zexathara ordered. He expected to hear the usual babbling of a species that had just learned to send messages between their own worlds. Instead, a clear and calm voice filled the bridge. "This is Captain John Martinez of the United Earth Defense Force vessel Liberty. We have detected your probe in our system and welcome contact with your civilization. We request a formal meeting to discuss relations between our peoples." The bridge fell silent. Zexathara blinked his large eyes several times. The voice was too confident, too prepared. Most new species either begged for mercy or demanded the aliens leave their territory. This human captain sounded like he was arranging a business meeting. "Did he say Defense Force?" whispered the communications officer. Zexathara activated the reply channel. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Zexathara of the Valdorian Empire. You will prepare for Imperial inspection. Resistance will result in the destruction of your world." The response came back immediately, without any sign of panic. "Admiral Zexathara, we appreciate your prompt response. However, we do not recognize Imperial authority over sovereign human territory. We remain open to diplomatic discussions between equals." The Admiral's clawed hands gripped his command chair. Equals. No species had used that word with the Valdorians in centuries. He turned to his tactical officer. "Show me their vessel." The main screen displayed the human ship. It was smaller than Valdorian vessels but showed signs of advanced construction. The hull gleamed with unfamiliar metals, and energy signatures indicated active shield systems. This was not the crude metal tube that primitive species usually built. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "their ship is using some kind of adaptive shielding. Our scanners cannot penetrate it completely." Captain Martinez's voice continued from the speakers. "We have prepared a neutral meeting location at the edge of your probe's patrol route. Station Haven is equipped to accommodate both of our species' environmental needs." Zexathara's mind raced. Station Haven. That implied they had built space stations. Plural. His species' database showed no record of humans ever leaving their home world. Yet this captain spoke as if humans controlled multiple locations in space. "Impossible," he muttered. "Check our long-range surveys. When did we last scan this sector?" His science officer worked quickly at her console. "Sir, the last detailed scan was 47 years ago. The area was marked as containing only primitive life forms." 47 years. In Valdorian terms, barely a moment, but perhaps enough time for a species to advance rapidly. Zexathara had seen it happen before, though rarely. Some species seem to develop technology at incredible speeds when faced with the reality of galactic civilization. "Admiral," the communications officer interrupted, "we are receiving detailed technical specifications for the proposed meeting. They are transmitting on frequencies we have never shared with anyone." The data appeared on screen. The humans had somehow learned standard galactic communication protocols. They knew exactly how to format diplomatic requests according to Imperial guidelines. More disturbing, they had included safety requirements for Valdorian physiology that showed detailed knowledge of his species' needs. "Prepare a response team," Zexathara ordered. "Commander Vexnal will lead the inspection. full diplomatic escort, but ready for combat. These humans know too much about us. 3 days later, Commander Vexnal arrived at the coordinates provided by the humans. Station Haven hung in space like a small moon, its surface covered with docking bays and communication arrays. The commander's ship was immediately hailed by traffic control. Valdorian vessel, this is Haven Control. You are cleared for docking. Bay 7. Please follow the guidance beacons and maintain standard approach speed. Vexnal's pilot looked confused. Sir, they are directing us like we are visiting a major trade station. This facility is enormous. The commander studied the readings. The station was indeed massive, larger than some Valdorian military bases. It showed signs of recent construction, but with materials that registered as both familiar and strangely advanced. How had humans built such a facility without imperial knowledge? As his ship docked, Vexnal could see other vessels in the neighboring bays. Some were clearly human in design, but others belonged to species he recognized. The Centauri traders were here, along with ships from the Outer Rim mining guilds. This was not a first contact scenario. This was an established trading post. Dr. Lisa Thompson greeted the Valdorian delegation in the station's main conference room. She was a small human with kind eyes and graying hair, but she carried herself with the confidence of someone used to dealing with alien species. Commander Vexnal, welcome to Haven Station. I am Dr. Thompson, Humanity's Chief Representative for Interspecies Relations. The commander's translator worked flawlessly, but he noticed that Dr. Thompson was also speaking his language directly, with only a slight accent. She had learned Valdorian. Dr. Thompson, he replied carefully, your species' rapid development is most impressive. How long have you been traveling between stars? She smiled. Commander, humans have been exploring beyond Earth for over 60 years. We have established colonies on 12 worlds and maintained trade relationships with 17 different species. Vexnal's mind went blank. 60 years of space travel, 12 colonies, 17 species contacts. The Imperial database contained no record of any of this activity. Either human technology included advanced stealth capabilities, or Imperial intelligence had failed completely. Dr. Thompson gestured to a large display screen. We have prepared a presentation about human civilization for your review. We believe it will help establish a foundation for future cooperation. The presentation began with images of Earth, showing a world of incredible diversity. Vast oceans, frozen poles, burning deserts, and green forests all existed on the same planet. The humans had evolved in an environment that constantly changed and challenged them. Next came images of human colonies. Each world looked different, adapted to local conditions. Humans living in floating cities above gas giants, underground complexes on frozen moons, and orbital habitats around dangerous stars. They had not just spread to other worlds, they had learned to thrive in conditions that would kill most species. Commander, Dr. Thompson said, we have been aware of the Valdorian Empire for several decades. Your civilization is impressive in its scope and organization. However, we have chosen a different path for human development. She clicked to the next display. It showed a detailed map of human territory, with trade routes, defense networks, and alliance partnerships. The humans had built their own small empire, but it was based on cooperation rather than conquest. Vexnal stared at the screen. The human territory was small compared to the Valdorian Empire, but it was strategically positioned. Their colonies controlled key resources and shipping routes. Any attempt to conquer human space would require massive resources and would disrupt trade throughout the sector. What do you want from the Empire? He asked. Dr. Thompson's expression became serious. We want recognition of human sovereignty over our established territories. We want to establish formal diplomatic relations. And we want assurance that the Empire will respect our right to exist as an independent civilization. The commander almost laughed. Independent civilization, as if such a thing were possible in a galaxy ruled by the Valdorians. But looking at the evidence before him, he realized that humans had already achieved independence. The question was whether the Empire would recognize it or fight to destroy it. And if the Empire chooses conquest instead of cooperation? He asked. Dr. Thompson's smile did not waver, but her eyes grew hard. Commander, we sincerely hope that will not be necessary. Humanity has great respect for Valdorian achievements. But we are not a species that accepts domination easily. We have contingency plans. The meeting ended with no agreements, but both sides understood the situation clearly. Humanity had emerged as a new power in the galaxy, one that the Empire had failed to detect or prevent. The Valdorians would return to their leaders with news that would shake the foundations of Imperial confidence. As Commander Vexnol's ship departed Haven Station, he wondered if the Empire was prepared for a species that refused to follow the rules of galactic civilization. General Marcus Stone stood in the command center deep beneath Colorado Springs, watching the displays that showed Valdorian fleet movements throughout the galaxy. 3 weeks had passed since Commander Vexnol's report reached the Imperial capital, and the response was exactly what human intelligence had predicted. The Empire was mobilizing its 5th battle fleet for what they assumed would be a simple conquest. "General, we have confirmation," reported Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez as she approached his position. "Long-range sensors show Admiral Colthex's fleet assembling at the Centauri staging area. 47 ships, including 3 heavy battlecruisers." Stone nodded grimly. The Valdorian 5th Fleet was known throughout the galaxy as the Empire's most effective conquest force. They had crushed over 30 civilizations in the past century alone. No species had ever survived their assault. "Activate Operation Gatekeeper," Stone ordered. "All phases, full implementation. Send the word to every human colony and outpost. It's time to show the galaxy what we're really capable of." Across human space, the message triggered responses that had been planned for decades. On Luna Base, Captain Ryan Walsh received his orders and smiled. He had been waiting his entire career for this moment. The Constitution, humanity's most advanced warship, powered up systems that had never been tested in real combat. "Attention all crew," Walsh announced over the ship's communication system. "We are about to face the most powerful military force in the galaxy. They expect us to surrender or die. Instead, we're going to teach them why humanity refuses to bow to anyone." The Constitution was unlike any ship the galaxy had ever seen. Its hull was made from materials that had been reverse-engineered from dozens of alien technologies, then improved by human innovation. The ship could adapt its armor and weapons in real time, learning from each attack and automatically adjusting its defenses. Meanwhile, on Earth's orbital defense platforms, Commander Elena Santos prepared her fighter squadrons for launch. Her pilots had trained for years using combat simulations based on captured Valdorian tactical data. They knew every standard Imperial attack pattern and had developed counters for each one. "Remember," Santos told her pilots over the communication channel, "they fight by the book. Same formations, same strategies they've used for centuries. We don't have a book. We make it up as we go." The human defense plan was radically different from anything the Valdorians had encountered. Instead of meeting the enemy in traditional formation combat, humanity would use tactics learned from Earth's own history of warfare. Hit-and-run attacks, ambushes, and psychological warfare would replace the standard galactic practice of ships, lining up and shooting at each other until one side was destroyed. Admiral Colthex stood on the bridge of his flagship Dominator as the 5th Fleet approached the Sol system. His scaled face showed complete confidence. The humans had surprised the Empire with their technological development, but they were still just one species facing the combined might of 47 warships. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "we are detecting unusual energy signatures throughout the system. The humans appear to have some kind of defensive network." Colthex studied the readings. The humans had indeed prepared defenses, but they were scattered and seemed poorly coordinated. Defensive platforms hung in space around their colonies, but there were gaps in coverage that his fleet could exploit easily. "Standard conquest formation," he ordered. "Destroy their orbital defenses first, then demand surrender. If they refuse, we will demonstrate Imperial power by destroying one of their colonies." The Valdorian fleet moved into the Sol system in perfect formation, their ships arranged in the traditional attack pattern that had conquered countless worlds. Energy weapons charged as they approached the first human defensive platform. The platform, looked small and defenseless compared to the massive Valdorian battlecruisers. Colthex expected it to be destroyed by the first volley from his ships. Instead, something impossible happened. The human platform absorbed the energy blast completely. Its hull glowed briefly, then returned to normal. The Valdorian weapons had been completely ineffective. "What happened?" Colthex demanded. His science officer worked frantically at her console. "Sir, the platform appears to have adaptive shielding. It analyzed our weapon frequency and adjusted its defenses to match." Before the Admiral could respond, the human platform fired back. Its weapon was unlike anything in the Valdorian database. Instead of a traditional energy beam, it fired a stream of charged particles that shifted frequency every few seconds. The blast struck the nearest Valdorian ship and punched straight through its shields. "Impossible," Colthex whispered. "How can they adapt so quickly?" The answer came from Captain Walsh aboard the Constitution. His ship emerged from behind Earth's moon, leading a small fleet of human vessels. The ships moved with unusual grace, their hulls gleaming with the same adaptive technology as the defense platforms. "Valdorian fleet, this is Captain Walsh of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered human territory without permission. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Colthex activated his communication system. "Human Captain, you are facing the 5th Battle Fleet of the Valdorian Empire. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." Walsh's response was calm and professional. "Admiral, I'm afraid that won't be possible. Humanity doesn't surrender. We adapt." The battle that followed changed galactic warfare forever. The Valdorians attacked using formations and tactics that had worked for 2,000 years. The humans responded with strategies that no one had ever seen before. Commander Santos launched her fighter squadrons at the exact moment the Valdorians committed to their attack formation. Instead of engaging the enemy fighters directly, her pilots targeted the Valdorian ship's sensor arrays and communication systems. Within minutes, the Imperial fleet was blind and deaf, unable to coordinate their movements. Captain Walsh brought the Constitution into the heart of the Valdorian formation, his ship's adaptive hull learning from each enemy weapon that struck it. By the third volley, the human ship was completely immune to Valdorian energy weapons. The Constitution's own weapons, meanwhile, shifted frequency with each shot, making it impossible for the enemy to adapt their defenses. The human tactics were completely unpredictable. Ships that appeared to be fleeing would suddenly turn and attack from unexpected angles. Fighters would disappear behind asteroids only to emerge behind Valdorian vessels. The humans fought like they were playing a game where the rules changed every few minutes. Admiral Colthex watched in growing horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled. Ship after ship reported critical damage or complete system failures. The humans were not just winning. They were making the 5th Battle Fleet look like amateurs. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "the humans are targeting our engines, not our weapons. They're trying to capture our ships intact." The realization struck Colthex like a physical blow. The humans were not just defending themselves. They were studying Valdorian technology in real time, learning from every shot fired and every maneuver attempted. Each disabled Imperial ship became a source of new information for the human forces. Commander Santos led her fighters in a final assault on the Valdorian flagship. Her small ships moved like birds around the massive battlecruiser, each one targeting a specific system with surgical precision. The Dominator's shields flickered and failed as the human fighters overwhelmed its defenses through sheer unpredictability. "Admiral," Walsh's voice came over the communication channel. "Your flagship is surrounded and your fleet is defeated. I'm offering you the chance to withdraw with your remaining ships. Take this message back to your empire. Humanity will not be conquered." Colthex looked around his bridge at the damage reports flooding in. Of his 47 ships, only 12 were still capable of faster-than-light travel. The rest were either destroyed or disabled beyond repair. In less than 4 hours, a species the Empire had dismissed as primitive had achieved what no other civilization had managed in 2 millennia. "Retreat," he ordered quietly. "All ships capable of jump withdraw immediately." As the surviving Valdorian ships fled the Sol system, Captain Walsh stood on his bridge and watched them go. The Constitution's hull showed no damage at all. Its adaptive systems had not only survived the battle, but had grown stronger with each enemy attack. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving congratulations from human colonies throughout the sector. Word of the victory is spreading fast." Walsh nodded, but his expression remained serious. "This was just the beginning," he said. "The Empire will not take this defeat lightly. They'll be back with more ships and better preparation." Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez joined General Stone in the command center as the last Valdorian ships disappeared from their sensors. The defense of Seoul had succeeded beyond their wildest hopes, but both officers knew the real war was just beginning. "General," Rodriguez said, "intelligence reports that the Empire is already mobilizing additional fleets. They're treating this as a major threat to Imperial authority." Stone studied the galactic display showing Valdorian fleet movements. Red markers indicated massive military buildups in dozens of sectors. The Empire was preparing for total war against humanity. "Good," Stone replied. Dr. Patricia Johnson walked through the corridors of the Terran Research Institute on Mars, her mind focused on the presentation she was about to give. The Global Defense Council had requested a full briefing on humanity's advantages over the Valdorian Empire, and the timing could not be more critical. Intelligence reports showed massive Imperial fleet buildups across 3 galactic sectors. The council chamber was filled with representatives from every human colony and military command. General Stone sat at the head table, his weathered face showing the strain of coordinating humanity's defense efforts. Beside him, Agent Christopher Lee of Human Intelligence Services prepared his own classified materials. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dr. Johnson began, "the question before us is simple. How did humanity defeat the galaxy's most powerful military force? The answer lies in our evolutionary history." She activated the holographic display, showing images of Earth through different geological periods. Most species in the galaxy evolved on stable worlds under single stars. Constant climate, predictable seasons, steady environmental conditions. Their development followed predictable patterns. The display shifted to show Earth's violent history. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and massive climate shifts painted a picture of a world in constant chaos. "Humanity evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every few thousand years," Johnson continued. "We survived ice ages that should have destroyed all life. We adapted to deserts, forests, mountains, and oceans. We learned to live in every environment our world could create." General Stone leaned forward. "How does this translate to military advantage?" "Our brains develop differently," Johnson explained. "While other species learn to perfect solutions to stable problems, humans learn to improvise solutions to changing problems. We don't just adapt to new situations, we thrive in them." Agent Lee stood up to continue the briefing. His presentation showed star maps with human infiltration routes marked in blue. For 53 years, Human Intelligence Services has maintained agents throughout the galaxy. We learned their languages, studied their cultures, and observed their military capabilities. The council members stared at the display in amazement. Human agents had penetrated not just the Valdorian Empire, but hundreds of other civilizations. The galaxy's interconnected trade networks had become humanity's greatest intelligence resource. "The Valdorians see galactic civilization as a strength," Lee explained. "All species connected, all information shared, all cultures learning from each other. They never considered that this connectivity could be used against them." Colonel Daniel Foster, recently returned from a classified mission, added his own intelligence. "The Empire's communication system relies on quantum entanglement networks. We've learned to tap into these networks without detection. We know their fleet movements before their own commanders do." Meanwhile, on the Valdorian capital world of Nexus Prime, Emperor Thulanexus paced in his private chambers. The news from the Sol system had reached him 3 days ago, and he still could not believe the reports. The 5th Battle Fleet had been humanity's first major test, and they had passed with devastating effectiveness. Explain to me, the Emperor said to his assembled advisors, how a species we dismissed as primitive has technology that our scientists cannot understand. Supreme Commander Yextalor, the Empire's highest military authority, consulted his datapad. Your Majesty, the humans appear to use a combination of technologies that should not work together. Their ships use chemical propulsion for maneuvering, but energy manipulation for weapons. Their hulls are made from materials that change properties in real time. And their tactics? The Emperor demanded. Completely unpredictable, Yextalor admitted. They do not follow any known patterns of galactic warfare. Their fighters attack in swarms like insects, their capital ships behave like single fighters, and their defensive positions move during battle. The Emperor's golden eyes narrowed. What do our allies say about this defeat? Foreign Minister Kexanara spoke carefully. Your Majesty, several allied species have expressed concern about Imperial military effectiveness. The Centauri Trading Guild has requested additional security for their merchant vessels. The Emperor understood the implications. If the Empire appeared weak, their thousands of allied species might begin to question Valdorian authority. Though my foundation of imperial power was the belief that resistance was impossible, humanity had shattered that belief in a single battle. Back on Mars, Dr. Johnson continued her presentation with information that few humans had ever heard. Our technological development followed a different path than other species. While they focused on perfecting individual technologies, we learned to combine different approaches. The display showed human ships under construction, their hulls incorporating metals from dozens of different worlds. We take the best ideas from every civilization and improve them. Our adaptive systems don't just learn from attacks, they learn from every technology they encounter. Agent Lee revealed the extent of human infiltration throughout the galaxy. We have agents in the Valdorian military, their scientific institutes, even their government. We know their capabilities better than they know ours. Colonel Foster described his recent mission to capture a Valdorian research station. We needed to understand their faster-than-light communication system. The mission was successful beyond our expectations. He activated a recording of Dr. Helen Clark, humanity's leading quantum physicist. The Valdorian entanglement technology is actually quite primitive, Clark explained. They use brute force methods where we can achieve the same results with elegant solutions. We've already built our own network using their technology as a foundation. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just defended against the Empire, they had turned the Empire's own technology against them. Human colonies now had instantaneous communication across hundreds of light years, using improved versions of Valdorian science. General Stone addressed the council. The question now is not whether we can defend ourselves. The question is what we do next. The debate that followed revealed deep divisions within humanity's leadership. Some wanted to negotiate with the Empire from a position of strength. Others believed that the only way to ensure human survival was to continue the fight until the Empire was no longer a threat. The discussion was interrupted by an urgent message from Captain Walsh aboard the Constitution. His ship was patrolling the outer edge of human territory when long-range sensors detected something alarming. General, Walsh reported, we have massive Valdorian fleet movements in the Arcturus sector. Intelligence estimates over 200, ships converging on a single target. Agent Lee checked his classified communications. The target is the Kepler Coalition mining operation on Kepler 442b. It's a joint operation between humans and the Zeftai species. The room fell silent. The Zeftai were an insectoid species that had been secretly allied with humanity for over a decade. Their mining operations provided rare materials that human shipyards needed for advanced construction. If the Valdorians were attacking that facility, it meant they had discovered the Alliance. How did they find out? General Stone demanded. Lee's face was grim. We have a security breach. Someone with access to classified information has been feeding intelligence to the Empire. Dr. Johnson realized the implications immediately. If they know about the Zeftai Alliance, they might know about other human activities. Our entire intelligence network could be compromised. The attack on Kepler 442b came without warning. Commander Tony Rodriguez was overseeing the loading of rare minerals when his sensors detected the approaching Valdorian fleet. The mining station had minimal defenses, designed to avoid attracting attention rather than withstand military assault. "All personnel to evacuation stations," Rodriguez ordered. "This is not a drill." The Valdorian attack was swift and precise. They targeted the mining equipment first, then the storage facilities. The attackers knew exactly where to strike for maximum damage. This was not a random assault. This was a surgical strike based on detailed intelligence. Rodriguez barely escaped with his crew as the station was destroyed. The loss was devastating, not just for the materials destroyed, but for what it represented. The Empire had learned to counter human advantages by using human intelligence against them. Back on Mars, the Council received the news with growing alarm. The attack on Kepler 442b proved that the Empire had adapted to humanity's methods. They were learning to fight the same kind of unconventional warfare that humans had used against them. "We need to find the source of the leak," General Stone declared. "Until we do, every human operation is at risk." Agent Lee was already working on the problem. "We've isolated the intelligence to a small group of people with access to colony defense plans. The investigation is ongoing." Dr. Johnson studied the tactical reports from the Kepler attack. "The Valdorians are learning," she said. "They're adapting to our methods just like we adapted to theirs. The next phase of this war will be different." The realization that humanity faced a learning enemy changed everything. The Empire's initial defeat had been based on their rigid adherence to traditional tactics. Now they were beginning to understand that fighting humans required new approaches. President Rebecca Turner stood before the United Nations General Assembly in New York, looking out at representatives from every human colony and territory. The assembly hall was packed with delegates who had traveled from dozens of worlds to hear what many considered the most important speech in human history. "Fellow citizens of humanity," Turner began, "today I can reveal what our intelligence services have discovered over the past months. We are not alone in our resistance to Valdorian domination." The announcement sent whispers through the assembly. For years, humans had believed they were the only species actively opposing the Empire. The truth was far more encouraging. The Kepler Coalition represents 7 different species that have been secretly coordinating resistance activities for over 30 years, Turner continued. They have been waiting for a catalyst, a species capable of challenging imperial military might. That catalyst is us. Ambassador Carlos Mendez stepped forward to address the assembly. His weathered face showed the strain of months of secret negotiations conducted in hidden locations throughout the galaxy. The coalition includes the Zeftai mining guilds, the Arcturus research stations, the Vega agricultural cooperatives, and 4 other civilizations, Mendez explained. Each brings unique capabilities that complement our own strengths. The revelation transformed humanity's strategic position overnight. Instead of facing the Empire alone, humans now had allies with resources, knowledge, and most importantly, shared determination to end Valdorian rule. Captain Susan Wright stood in the construction yards of Luna Base, watching as the first Defiance-class battleship took shape. The massive vessel represented a fusion of human engineering with technologies provided by coalition partners. Its hull gleamed with Zeftai metals that were stronger than anything previously known to human science. "Status report," Wright requested, from her chief engineer. "The Zeftai metallurgy is exceeding all expectations," the engineer replied. "These new hull plates can withstand energy impacts that would vaporize our previous ships. Combined with our adaptive systems, these vessels should be nearly indestructible." The Zeftai species had evolved on a world rich in rare minerals. Their insectoid bodies allowed them to work in conditions that would kill most other life forms. More importantly, they possessed mining and metallurgy techniques that had remained secret from the Empire for centuries. Wright activated her communication system to contact the Zeftai technical advisor working on the project. The alien's translated voice came through clearly. "Captain Wright, our people are honored to contribute to vessels that will carry freedom to the galaxy," the Zeftai engineer said. "These ships represent the combined hopes of all coalition species." The alliance proved immediately beneficial in ways beyond military construction. Arcturus research stations provided access to experimental technologies that humans had only theorized about. Vega agricultural worlds offered food production methods that could sustain longer military campaigns. However, not all humans supported open warfare with the galaxy's most powerful empire. In the halls of Congress, Senator Gregory Howard led a growing faction that questioned the wisdom of continued conflict. "We have proven our point," Howard argued during a closed session. "The Empire knows we cannot be easily conquered. Now is the time to negotiate from strength, not to escalate toward total war." His arguments found support among representatives from outer colonies who feared imperial retaliation. These worlds were far from Earth's protection and would be the first targets if the Empire decided to punish human aggression. Senator Howard's concerns were not entirely without merit. Intelligence reports showed that the Empire was mobilizing resources on a scale not seen for centuries. Entire sectors were being converted to military production. The Valdorians were preparing for a war of annihilation. Unknown to his colleagues, Howard had been in secret communication with Valdorian diplomatic representatives. The Empire had offered humanity a place within their hierarchy, ruling over several dozen primitive species in exchange for ending their resistance. The offer was tempting to those who feared the consequences of continued defiance. Under Valdorian rule, humanity would maintain significant autonomy while gaining access to imperial technology and resources. The cost would be submission to an empire that had enslaved hundreds of other species. Lieutenant Julie Adams of Military Intelligence had been monitoring communication patterns from Earth to known imperial agents. Her investigation had narrowed the source of intelligence leaks to a small group of government officials with access to classified military information. "General Stone," Adams reported during a secure briefing, "we have identified the source of the security breach. Senator Howard has been transmitting classified information to Valdorian agents for the past 4 months. The revelation sent shockwaves through the human leadership. Howard was not just a political opponent of the war effort, he was actively sabotaging human military operations." "What information has been compromised?" Stone asked. Adams consulted her datapad, colony defense positions, fleet deployment schedules, and details about our alliance with the Kepler Coalition. The attack on Kepler 442b was successful because they knew exactly when and where to strike. The betrayal explained how the Valdorians had been able to counter human advantages so effectively. They were not just learning from battlefield experience, they were receiving detailed intelligence about human capabilities and plans. General Stone faced a difficult decision: arresting. Howard would expose the investigation and alert any other potential traitors. Allowing him to continue risked further compromise of human operations. "We will feed Howard false information," Stone decided. "Let him think he is still undetected while we use him to mislead the Empire." The strategy proved effective when Howard transmitted fake intelligence about a planned human attack on a Valdorian supply depot. The Empire diverted significant resources to defend a target that humans had no intention of attacking. Meanwhile, the real target was a joint mining operation between humans and Zeftai forces on the edge of Imperial territory. Commander Tony Rodriguez led the assault, determined to prove that the earlier disaster at Kepler 442b would not be repeated. "All ships maintain communication silence until we reach the target," Rodriguez ordered. "The Empire thinks we are attacking their supply depot in the Rigel system." The operation was a complete success. Human and Zeftai forces captured an entire Valdorian mining complex along with its rare mineral reserves. More importantly, they demonstrated that the coalition could conduct effective joint operations. The captured facility provided valuable intelligence about Imperial military production. Dr. Helen Clark analyzed the mineral processing equipment and made a disturbing discovery. "These materials are being used to construct something massive," Clark reported to the coalition leadership. "The energy requirements suggest weapons capable of destroying entire star systems." The revelation that the Empire was developing planet-killing weapons changed the nature of the conflict. This was no longer a war about territorial control or political dominance. The Empire was preparing to commit genocide on a galactic scale. President Turner called an emergency session of the coalition leadership. Representatives from all 7 species gathered at a secret location to discuss their response to this new threat. The Empire has moved beyond conventional warfare, Turner explained. They are developing weapons that violate every principle of galactic civilization. We cannot allow these weapons to be completed. The Zeftai representative spoke, through translation devices. Our species has survived Imperial rule by remaining hidden and avoiding direct confrontation. But weapons of this magnitude threaten all life in the galaxy. Ambassador Mendez had been coordinating intelligence from all coalition species. We have confirmed locations of 3 weapon construction facilities. They are heavily defended and located deep within Imperial territory. The mission to destroy these facilities would require resources and coordination beyond anything the Coalition had previously attempted. Success would save countless lives throughout the galaxy. Failure would result in the complete destruction of all Coalition species. Captain Wright received orders to accelerate construction of the Defiance-class battleships. We need at least 12 vessels operational within 6 months, she was told. The fate of galactic civilization depends on it. The construction effort became a race against time. Human shipyards worked around the clock while Zeftai miners provided materials faster than ever before. Arcturus research stations contributed advanced weapon systems that had never been tested in combat. Senator Howard, unaware that his communications were being monitored, continued to provide false information to his Valdorian contacts. His report suggested that the Coalition was planning defensive actions rather than preparing for a massive offensive strike. The deception worked perfectly. Imperial intelligence dismissed reports of increased human shipbuilding as defensive preparations. They had no idea that the Coalition was preparing to strike at the heart of the Empire's most secret weapons program. Lieutenant Adams continued her investigation and discovered that Howard was not acting alone. Several other government officials had been compromised by Imperial agents. Admiral Victoria Kelly stood on the bridge of the flagship Democracy, watching as the largest fleet in human history prepared for the Battle of Nexus Prime. Around her, ships from 7 different species formed attack formations that had never been attempted before. The Coalition fleet stretched across space like a moving constellation, each vessel representing the hopes of billions of beings who dreamed of freedom. All ships report ready for jump, her communications officer announced. Coalition forces are standing by for your command, Admiral. Kelly studied the tactical display one final time. Dr. Nathan Young's breakthrough in space-time manipulation technology had given human ships the ability to appear anywhere within a star system, without warning. Combined with Coalition resources and alien technologies, they had weapons and capabilities that the Empire had never encountered. Begin the operation, Kelly ordered. All ships, execute jump sequence. Target, Nexus Prime System, multiple coordinates. Show the galaxy that tyranny ends today. The fleet disappeared into hyperspace, leaving empty void where moments before the greatest armada in galactic history had assembled. In seconds, they would appear around the Valdorian capital world, striking at the heart of Imperial power on Nexus Prime. Emperor Thule Nexus was reviewing reports from his weapons development program when alarms began sounding throughout the Imperial Palace. His communication officers were shouting conflicting reports about massive fleet signatures appearing throughout the system. Your Majesty, Supreme Commander Yex Taller reported, we have multiple enemy fleets appearing at all defensive perimeter points. The attackers include human vessels and at least 6 other species. The Emperor's golden eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. Our intelligence showed the humans were preparing defensive positions, not planning an offensive assault. The intelligence was false, Your Majesty, Yex Taller admitted. We have been deceived. Emperor Thule Nexus realized that his empire's greatest strength had become its weakness. The vast communication networks that connected hundreds of worlds had been turned against them. Human spies had fed false information while Coalition forces prepared in secret. Captain Frank Wilson led the first wave of attacks against the Valdorian defensive grid. His squadron of Defiance-class battleships moved through space like predators, their adaptive hulls learning from each enemy weapon that struck them. Within minutes, the ships were immune to traditional Imperial weapons. Target their communication relays, Wilson ordered. Cut off their ability to coordinate defensive responses. The human weapons were unlike anything the Valdorians had prepared, for energy beams that changed frequency with each shot, missiles that adapted their targeting mid-flight, and defensive shields that grew stronger under attack. Each human innovation represented decades of studying alien technologies and improving them beyond their original capabilities. Commander Laura Davis coordinated the coalition assault from her position aboard the HFY vessel Harmony. The insectoid species had provided ships with mining equipment converted into weapons capable of tearing through Imperial armor like paper. Arcturus research vessels contributed experimental energy weapons that had never been tested in combat. All coalition forces maintain formation and continue the advance, Davis commanded. The Empire's defensive grid is collapsing faster than expected. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed. Traditional Valdorian formations crumbled under attacks from multiple species using different technologies and tactics. The Empire had trained for 2,000 years to fight conventional galactic warfare. They were completely unprepared for the coordinated assault of species that refused to follow the rules. Deep within the Imperial Palace, Emperor Thul Nexus made a decision that revealed the true nature of his empire's power. If he could not rule the galaxy, he would destroy it rather than allow other species to challenge Valdorian authority. Activate the Nexus device, he ordered his chief scientist. Prepare to demonstrate why the Empire has ruled for millennia. The Nexus device was the Empire's most closely guarded secret. Hidden beneath the capital world's surface, it was capable of creating gravitational disturbances that could destroy entire star systems. The weapon had never been used, but its existence had ensured that no species dared challenge Imperial authority. Major Scott Thompson received emergency orders as the Coalition fleet closed in on the Imperial Palace. Intelligence agents on the surface had detected massive energy buildups beneath the capital city. The Emperor was preparing to use a weapon that could kill billions of beings throughout the system. All personnel prepare for emergency insertion, Thompson announced to his assault team. We have minutes to prevent galactic genocide. Thompson's team included soldiers from 3 different species, each bringing unique capabilities to the mission. Human adaptability, HFY endurance, and Arcturus technical expertise combined into a force unlike any the Empire had ever faced. The assault team's transport ship, piloted by Captain Wilson, dove through the battle raging around Nexus Prime. Valdorian fighters attempted to intercept them, but the human pilot's unpredictable maneuvers made targeting impossible. 30 seconds to insertion point, Wilson announced. Be ready for immediate deployment. Thompson and his team leaped from their transport directly into the Imperial Palace courtyard. The building's defenses had been designed to repel traditional attacks, not small teams of highly trained soldiers using advanced equipment. Inside the palace, Emperor Thul Nexus watched the activation sequence for the Nexus device begin. In less than 10 minutes, the weapon would create a gravitational collapse that would destroy not only the attacking fleet, but every planet in the system. Your Majesty, Supreme Commander Yextalor reported, enemy soldiers have breached the palace perimeter. They appear to be heading for the device chamber. The Emperor's face showed no emotion. Increase security around the chamber. The device must be allowed to complete its activation sequence. Thompson's team fought their way through Imperial guards using tactics that confused and overwhelmed their opponents. Instead of advancing in formation, they moved like individual hunters, each one targeting specific objectives with precision strikes. The corridor leading to the device chamber was heavily defended, but Thompson had studied the palace layout for months. His team used maintenance tunnels and service passages to bypass the main defensive positions. 2 minutes to reach the chamber, Thompson reported to Admiral Kelly through his communication device. The activation sequence is already in progress. In the space battle above, Admiral Kelly watched as the last Valdorian defensive positions crumbled under coalition assault. Victory was within reach, but it would mean nothing if the Emperor succeeded in destroying the entire system. All ships prepare for emergency evacuation, Kelly ordered. If Major Thompson fails, we have less than 8 minutes to escape the system. Thompson and his team reached the device chamber just as the final activation sequence began. The chamber was vast, filled with machinery that hummed with barely contained energy. At the center, Emperor Thulnexus stood beside a control panel that could destroy worlds. "You are too late, human," the Emperor said calmly. "The device cannot be stopped once activation begins. You have won your battle only to die with your enemy." Thompson studied the massive machine, searching for any weakness his team could exploit. The device was protected by energy barriers that would kill anyone who approached the control systems. "Sir," one of his Arcturus team members called out, "the device uses quantum entanglement for its targeting system. If we can disrupt the entanglement field, the weapon will target itself instead of the surrounding space." The solution required someone to manually adjust the targeting array while the device was active. Anyone who attempted the task would be killed by the energy discharge, but their sacrifice could save billions of lives throughout the system. Thompson looked at his team and saw the same determination in every face. Each of them understood what was required. Without hesitation, he moved toward the targeting array. "Major, wait," the Zeftai team member called out. "My species can survive higher energy levels than humans. I should make the adjustment." "No," Thompson replied. "This is a human mission. We take responsibility for human risks." He approached the targeting array as energy crackled around him. The quantum field began burning through his protective equipment, but Thompson continued working. His training had taught him to complete missions regardless of personal cost. The targeting adjustment took 30 seconds that felt like hours. Thompson's equipment failed completely, and the energy field began affecting his body directly. But his hands remained steady as he made the final calibration. Emperor Thulnexus realized what was happening just as Thompson completed the adjustment. "What have you done?" the Emperor demanded. "Change the target," Thompson replied as he collapsed. "Your weapon will now destroy only this facility." The Nexus device activated exactly as designed, creating a gravitational disturbance that could destroy planets. But instead of targeting the space around Nexus Prime, it focused its energy on the chamber where it was housed. The Emperor's ultimate weapon turned against itself, creating a localized collapse that destroyed only the facility and everyone inside it.